So we're going to have some fun today, guys. We're going to learn some really important things based on reality, things that I've done, I've seen, I've put into place in my own business. Of course, I'm going to introduce you to my friend and colleague for the day today, Giles, who's over at Dux-Soup. He looks inside and he's seen more LinkedIn automation campaigns than anybody else I know in the world. That's his job on a day-to-day basis. And we're going to share that with you in a couple of seconds. You can reach out to him, and I'm sure that you, if you're from the Dux-Soup audience and world, you know who he is. You've seen him on webinars. You've probably had some support calls where he's helped you get into the inner workings of how to get things bigger and better. And so I'm super excited for today. There's a lot of months of preparation that went into making what we're going to show you here today happen. And so we're going to make it simple. We're going to make it clear. That was the whole point of building this integration between the two products. Giles, tell us a little quick bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm originally from the UK, Justin. I live in the Netherlands now. I've lived in the Netherlands for nearly 15 years. Absolutely love it here. Very happy that we relocated when we did. Yeah, I've got 2 kids, but the whole family, we're all big sports fans. I play golf, as Justin just said. I've got a handicap of 6, but I'm a massive soccer fan. Being an Englishman, I love my cricket as well, but also I do have a rather awkward passion for baseball, which is great because, you know, it's great. I love the game, but of course all the start times are usually around midnight for me, so that's not so handy. But yeah, any sport pretty much, I will be engaging in it one way or the other.
Yeah, and in the evenings, I think you're a John Oliver impersonator. Is that true? Just joking. And then one little quick last fact about me. People like to know this. I'm a daily runner. I'm on almost 1,700 days in a row, no days off, no day miss, rain, hail, shine, sick, all conditions, a never give up, show up attitude and mindset. And so for all my marathon runners, 5K runners, ultra people out there, what's up? You know, we can talk and chat later about all that stuff. And so let's move on to the next thing here on the screen. And so, like I said, I have some
Justin,
yeah.
One question. A couple of people are asking, which Premier League side do I support? So I've got to share that, haven't I?
Okay. Yeah, we can't pause there.
I'm a huge Nottingham Forest fan. Lifelong suffering, I should say, but very happy this season.
Well, for everyone who knows what that means, then you guys can argue and scream at each other about that, but I'm sure there's some banter to have about that. And so like I was saying, well, I've got some tasks and asks for you guys. And so what I know every single time I do a webinar is people say, can I get the slide deck? Can I get access to what you shared? Because there's going to be templates. There's going to be screenshots that you're going to want to capture. And so right now, so that way it's not a distraction later, I'd like everyone who's watching this on their computer or on a recording, right? If you're watching the replay, take out your phone, hold it up to the screen, and what you should see is a quick little pop-up box that should send an email to me. It should be filled out automatically. All you got to do is hold it to the screen, hit send, and then after the webinar, I'll be able to follow up with you guys with all the slide deck and everything that you need. Now, there are some instances where I've seen iPhone users who are not using the mail app and it's not installed. Been there, done that. I'm sorry it doesn't work. So I have a quick little hack for you. Damien, who's helping us out in the chats, he'll just drop a little snippet of copy on who to send the email to and what to include in it. So that way I can get it over to you. So in a couple of seconds, yep, see, yeah, there you are. There it is. You can put that in your email client, send it to justin.zimmerman@woodpecker.com. Slides as the subject line, and then there's the body copy. You'll see Damien drop in there. So that way, if the QR code isn't working for you, don't worry. You can send an email to justin.zimmerman@woodpecker.com, subject line slides, and then just put the word Dux-Soup webinar in the body. All righty, everybody. Thank you so much. Okay, and so one last little housekeeping thing. Damien, if you could share and pop the poll for everyone. This is going to be really, really, really important because why you're here is different than why other people are here. And who you are and where you are in your business is different than where everybody else is. And so there are going to be nuances throughout both today's webinar and after the webinar that by sharing some information with us right now, we can both help you get and understand more out of what we're going to be sharing with you. And so, yeah, Woodpecker.co, right? Thank you, John. And one of those first things, as you should see on your screen right now with the slide deck, is a question about how you would describe yourself. Are you a solo prospector, right? Are you like a real estate agent or an independent contractor who's out there prospecting for yourself alone on a team? Are you an SDR or outbounder? And so that is a little bit different than someone working on a team, working alone. Are you a team manager or are you a leader on that team? Or are you a lead generation agency, right? And you can start to see how, based on who you are and what you're doing, there are going to be differences in what you get out of today's webinar, and then things that we can follow up with you afterwards, because we have different programs, different pricing, and different approaches that are going to help you depending on where you are. And of course, knowing what type of account that you have, that's going to be super important. If you have a Woodpecker account, a Dux-Soup account, we'll talk about LeadFuse in a second. Hello, what up, all LeadFuse people? That's one of our common partners. We're going to get into LeadFuse and how they work together with Dux-Soup to give you a single source of data to power Dux-Soup and Woodpecker campaigns together. And so it looks like we've got 74, 75, 76 people filling this out. Can we get to 100? I have a friend who's treats polls like marathons or telethons. And so let's see if we can get a couple of more fills out here, guys. All right, 80. Come on, everybody. Let's fill this out. Let's get to 100 and we can wrap it up. 83. I told you this is going to be fun. We've got tasks and asks. We're 86, 87. Almost there, everybody. 89. It's
Keep them coming, people.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming. 92, 93, 95. All right. I think we're going to hit that 100 mark in about a second now. And so, Damien, when we hit that 100 mark, you can wrap it up and we can move on. 99. One more. Come on, guys. One more. All right. 100. Thank you, everybody. All right. I'm going to share the results back. They're anonymous. There's no names attached to it. So you can see who's here watching with us today. And so you should be able to see on your screen, we've got 33% of you guys who are solo prospectors. Interesting to know. A number of you are working on a team, a good chunk of lead agencies, and a bunch of team managers. Interesting. Looking for better replies, looking for better email tools, looking for better LinkedIn tools. Good, healthy chunk. Thank you. Thank you. And we got a lot of basically a breakdown as I thought. Everyone who's here from Woodpecker and Dux-Soup kind of shows up in the registration numbers. Thank you, everybody. That is fantastic. And I'm going to see if I can get a screen share of this to somehow put in the video afterwards. I can't promise that for those of you who are watching the recording. I'd like for you to see this too, but we'll see if we can make that happen. All right. I'm going to go jumping right back now into some of the next most important things, which are the plan for today, right? Why we're all here. It's going to map to a lot of what you guys just shared with us right now. And so let's first get into this slide here, which is what is Dux-Soup? Because we've got a lot of people, as you saw on the screen, from Woodpecker who don't know what Dux-Soup is. Woodpecker's a bird, ducks are birds, but it's not what you think. And so we're going to get into what is Dux-Soup as a LinkedIn automation tool. For those of you who are visiting us and we'll say guest attendees from the Dux-Soup world, well, what is Woodpecker as a email tool? We're going to get into what that looks like. And then, of course, why use them together? The big reveal. And then finally, what everybody wants to know after they hear and see that is what are the plans that you need on both sides? And what are those costs? So that way you can make a decision for your business and your results that fits where you are and where you're going. And then finally, I really spent a lot of time, believe it or not, trying to word this slide very carefully. It wasn't frequently asked questions. It was frequently asked critical questions, because everybody who does LinkedIn automation or interested in LinkedIn automation wants to know the safety, the throttling. Will my account get blocked? How do I do this in a way that keeps the least amount of risk? Right. And then, of course, on the Woodpecker side, deliverability, right? And keeping your domain and email health, right? What are those critical questions? What are those critical things, those critical settings that you ought to know about? So that way, before you see what you see here and go off and try to do things, you are set up for success with the least amount of risk. Now, what we're not going to cover. Thank you, everybody, by the way, who sent in questions during the registration process. I read every single one of them. We saw a lot of things around helping with subject lines, body copy, and messaging. And I really took that to heart. And so I thought, well, we can't cover that in detail because we need to spend time today going over the big broad view, because we've got two audiences, a campaign to walk through, and I want to make sure we have time to answer those high level questions before we get into the details. And so we're not going to cover that in detail. However, I did do a little bit of research for all you guys who have questions around copy and content performance. And so, to no surprise, our very own Yuri Vermachuk is a LinkedIn influencer. who works here at Woodpecker. And as you can see, he gets hundreds of people reading his posts and commenting on them. And so I went and found some of the best ones I thought that were most appropriate for both LinkedIn and email copy to give you an opportunity to go take a couple of quick bites out of what he's sharing there. Because I think if you read these things and apply them, you'll get enough lift in the things that you're already doing without us having to spend that time right now. And so Yuri, thank you so much for writing these. If you're listening, Damien should be sharing a link to this in the chats. And so if he hasn't already, you can go check that out. We've got a couple of more. If you look at this one, another great post, 454 likes. This one performed pretty well. Good job, Yuri. And as you can see here, short versus long, right? Go read this. If you have big blocks of text, you're probably underperforming. If you have small, simple blocks, you're probably going to do better. And so there's another link that Damien's going to drop to help you read through this. And then finally, I saw this already asked in the chats, Giles, around what some of the people are here to get. They want to know, how do I get my requests and my LinkedIn open and responded to more often? And so this came up recently. This is another great post. I ran through this, 22 pages long. And so check out the chats on how to get your send request accepted on LinkedIn. And so that should really give those of you who need a little bit of a lift in your copy and content performance that edge right now that allows us to now move on to the bigger picture of things. And so thank you, everybody, for the time on the introduction. And we're going to get into now first, what is Dux-Soup? Giles, why don't you jump into that for us?
Yeah, so Dux-Soup is a Chrome extension. A lot of people go, oh my goodness, it's a Chrome extension. That's really scary. Well, actually, Dux-Soup is designed to basically harness the power of LinkedIn, because 10, 12 years ago, when the founder of Dux-Soup was trying to solve a business problem, he was like, yeah, okay, LinkedIn's this fabulous resource. How can we harness that power in a reliable and safe way? Now, LinkedIn, you can see the stats here on the page. It's a phenomenal resource. It's used by millions of people, tens of millions of people every day. Huge, especially in the recruitment space, decision makers. And the founder of Dux-Soup was very much thought, yeah, how can I make this accessible to people and affordable? Very much LinkedIn, when it broke onto the market, 9 years ago or so, it broke the model with regards pricing and made all of this data in LinkedIn accessible to people who didn't have hundreds of dollars every month available in their budget for this sort of stuff. Dux-Soup has evolved massively over that time, and the API has become, we've developed the API, made that open. So that's why these integrations are now possible. But Dux-Soup is designed to mimic human behavior on the LinkedIn platform. And that's how Dux-Soup, that's how we keep your account safe. We have a series of recommendations. We've got lots of limits and stuff. And if you could just flick to the next slide for me, Justin. I think it's the next slide. Yeah, if we go to the next slide, hang on a second. Yeah, that one there. This one here, this shows the robot actually mimicking the behavior of a human being. This is showing opening a profile, sending a connection request, putting that copy of your connection message into LinkedIn. In order to operate, Dux-Soup has to have the Chrome browser open, because it's literally, showing those clicks of the mouse. We don't go through the proprietary LinkedIn API. That's one of the ways that we keep the LinkedIn account safe. And that, of course, is of paramount importance to us, because if your LinkedIn account is put in jeopardy, then of course there are no Dux-Soup customers.
Yeah.
Going on from that as well, we talk about some of our success stories. If you could just go back to the previous slide from this one, because that's the one I wanted to touch on as well. Scott is a guy who's been using Dux-Soup for over 3 years now. I know Scott very well. He's actually presenting a webinar for us next week. We do webinars every 2 weeks as well. Scott is a case study that we've got on our website. We've got many of these where we've seen, a real explosion in people being able to have great levels of success with Dux-Soup, using the campaigns within Dux-Soup. Now we're able to sort of, harness coordinated email and LinkedIn outreach together using Woodpecker. That's opening lots of possibilities and simplifying so many processes for people. So you can always go to our website, look at the case studies. Scott is one very good example, but he's also happy to engage with users if people want more information about his experiences as well.
Yeah, and you guys have an upcoming webinar with him. And so, Damien, you want to drop the link in the chat, so that way those who want to follow or join the webinar around what Scott Wright has done with LinkedIn automation.
That's next Tuesday. Yeah.
Next Tuesday, we can people can join that. And just a couple of things I want to point out about why Woodpecker chose Dux-Soup as the LinkedIn automation partner was really for two reasons, and they're both highly related. Number one was, as you can see here, Dux-Soup mimics human behavior. It doesn't try to use proxies and IPs that could possibly get you in trouble with the geo tracking that LinkedIn could coordinate and say, hey, maybe you're here, 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 and here, versus you're one person on a computer using the screen. And it does, as you can see here, it will open up the browser. It will click on the button to send a connection request. It will click add a note, as you can see here, and start to fill it in for you based on what you fill out. And so it's these behaviors that have given Dux-Soup such a high safety track record. And then because of that, Dux-Soup has been around for a long time. And so for my Woodpecker friends listening right now, we saw that two of those things gave you the best opportunity to have the safest experience possible, because you're not trying to go through an automation tool that does it on the back end through the APIs, which in some way is blocked by what LinkedIn says. And so I'd love to move on and just talk very quickly about some of the other safety features, because I think that's really important for both Woodpecker customers and I would say Dux-Soup customers who maybe have forgotten a little bit about this stuff over the last months or years since they joined.
Yeah, so there are, of course, what they call fair usage limits within LinkedIn, how many profiles you open per day, how many connection requests or direct messages you send per day on the platform. There's lots of dependencies upon that, from how big is your first degree network, if you've got a free LinkedIn account or a paid LinkedIn account, and how successful you are. That's the underlying number at the end of the day. If people aren't accepting your connection request messages, then you will find you will be limited as to how much you do. It's the one thing we don't have direct control over. You, of course, can indirectly influence that by building really good quality lists, finding good prospects, and engaging them with good messaging. Those are the best ways that you can increase your chances of getting good connection request rates. We see all sorts of different numbers, but the best people, the people who are really using Dux-Soup successfully, are achieving upwards of 50% success rates at connection request acceptance rates. If you target well, you message well, upwards of 50% is absolutely achievable, but you have to put the work in up front. This here, there are various drop-down boxes here where you see where it says the daily limits, and that's where you can control all of that. But Dux-Soup also monitors for if you get a warning pop up from LinkedIn, and then the robot will pause for so many days before it then continues your activities, therefore keeping your account safe as well.
I love it. I love it. And I'm going to flip to this next thing around safety and safety controls. Speaking of mimicking human behavior, this is one of the things on the back end inside of Dux-Soup that you guys should be aware of if you're a Woodpecker customer, or if you haven't looked at it in a long time. You can set up like when Dux-Soup will open your browser and set your working hours as if you're a human being, setting your schedule. And so LinkedIn starts to mirror and remember what your schedule looks like. And so I just have the random button on it. It probably should be more blocked out, but because, like, who's working Sunday at 1 a.m. But it looked like a cooler graphic. That's probably, I think, not the right one.
It wasn't the boring 9 to 5.
Yeah, it was like the boring 9 to 5 one. I was like, that's not as fun.
There's also a serious point of safety here as well, because if you've got, for example, multiple browser sessions open and you're maybe messaging on LinkedIn on one computer or one device, and then you've got the robot running on another, that could look to LinkedIn like there's more than one person on your LinkedIn account. So this way you can control when the robot is active for you and when it's going to snooze. And that is a really important point of view from a safety features as well.
Great point. I know that as a fact, because I use Dux-Soup all the time for my work, and we're going to get into some of those campaigns in a second. And I see some really great questions in the chat from Steve and a few other people we're going to address in a little bit. But yeah, I know that my robot runs this time, and this time. So I make sure that I'm not also in LinkedIn in another tab doing the same thing from the same browser. So that way LinkedIn's like, how can Justin simultaneously be doing this, clicking and writing and responding, and clicking and responding there? And so that's actually a really big, we might even want to put that in the critical questions section at some point, because that is really true. Like, you don't want to be perceived as simultaneously being on one computer doing two things. And so this is actually an important aspect to it.
How LinkedIn see it is they see if there's parallel actions going on, they think there's more than one person on your account. And what the symptom you'll actually see is if they pick that up, if they're monitoring it, they'll just log you out of LinkedIn. That's the first indication that you'll see. But yeah, this helps you manage that and give you control over that as well.
And we're going to do a little bit deeper dive into safety and settings at the very end. And so this part of the section was really trying to give you a clear idea of why Woodpecker chose Dux-Soup and what is Dux-Soup in relation to LinkedIn automation. And so I want to now jump over into what is Woodpecker for my Dux-Soup friends. Welcome, guys. And so this is going to be a quick opportunity to take a look into what we've created for you guys and what Woodpecker offers as far as we'll call it omni-channel outreach. And so I just thought I had to throw this in there. Maybe some people are saying email's dead. Maybe people aren't using email because they think it's just a medium that people don't respond to anymore. But based on this and some other data that I've researched, year over year, email continues to drive more revenue from a statistical standpoint, but I don't need graphs or charts to tell me this. I know when I send email, my response rates are better than any other form of marketing that I do. And so to help you move into the era where what is Woodpecker and how can it take email together with Dux-Soup is to really think about us as a centralized platform for all your touch points. And so if you look on your screen here, and you lean a little bit in, you can see email, you can see LinkedIn, you can see task, you can see call, you can see SMS. And so we give you the ability to build a single campaign using all these different mediums because like every industry, there are preferred means of communication. There are preferred sequences. And so in some sequences for some ICPs, well, you know, starting with an email is the right one. In others, it might be starting with LinkedIn. Maybe a call or a text message might be the right next step in the sequence. And so we give you a platform to have one single place to manage and create all those automations. And so, by the way, if you're an AirCall customer, we've recently actually installed and built an integration so that way you can now make calls with AirCall from within Woodpecker. So that way you don't have to flip and flop between different screens and different tabs. And so speaking of calls, Woodpecker also gives you a daily to-do manager. And so for all of those tasks that are not automated, for all those tasks that aren't running for you behind the scenes, like making a call, you can build into your sequence steps and things and reminders on a per prospect, per lead basis that are important to your sequence to make sure that you or your team, if you have a team license, are following up on. And so in this case, you would see here, make a call. And so it's John Doe at company and Jim Jones and Kate, you know, some made up names. But the point is that you can come in here and never miss a step, or your team never misses a step or a call. And this will pop up and give you the opportunity to use that AirCall dialer. Or if you want to use a phone, you can just dial the number from your cell phone and make those outbound calls all in one point, all in one day. So you can see, here's my call block for Friday or for Monday, and never miss it. So one of the next most important things, just the way Dux-Soup puts a heavy emphasis on safety around LinkedIn and LinkedIn automation and keeping your profile clean and clear. Woodpecker puts an equal amount of attention on keeping your domain and email protected and clean. And so one of the things that we have in place is something called Bounce Shield that monitors the deliverability of your emails. And so if there's anything funny starting to happen where your deliverability starts to drop off or a certain number of spam complaints start to happen, to stop bad things from getting worse, Woodpecker has this bounce shield that's listening for these different signs and will halt your campaigns and give you a notice to take a look at these particular things. So that way the damage doesn't continue forward. And so if you want to learn a little bit more about Bounce Shield, it's free. It's built into the tool. Damien should be dropping into the campaign a little bit about Bounce Shield. So that way you can keep your deliverability as high as possible. All right. Next thing, and I get into this every single webinar that I do, is around choosing the right tool for the job. And so I say this because a lot of people actually don't know this. A lot of people are surprised by the fact that there are two really different types of email tools out there. There are, I would say, high volume, low response, mass marketing tools, your broadcast tools that you're familiar with on the left. And then I would say there is low volume, high response, high deliverability tools like Gmail, Woodpecker, and some of our competitors who are focused on sending slow flow, tightly delivered emails. And so I want to make sure that if you aren't doing email yet, and you want to combine it with your LinkedIn automation, that you at least choose the right tool, whether it's us or not. I just want to make sure you're on the right path to combine email and LinkedIn in an omni-channel campaign that can deliver the most results from you. Because if you're using Woodpecker, if you're using Dux-Soup, you're already on that right path. And hopefully by the end of today, if you're not yet a Woodpecker customer, you can see a little bit about how we can help get you there as well. Because on this next step, and this is just wildly interesting to me every single time I do it, and in case you don't know it, I share it and say it because not everybody's aware of this, is that there are two main tabs that you can land in when you're sending emails, a primary tab and a promotions tab. And if you look in where that arrow is pointed and you lean in a little bit closer, you can see that email was signed by and mailed by HubSpot. If it was an Infusionsoft email, it would be Infusionsoft or Keep. If it was Aweber, it'd be Aweber. And what the email services know is that when emails are signed and mailed by those are most likely broadcast bulk emails, and that it's most like a promotion, not a one-to-one communication, which is kind of what we're trying to do in our cold outreach, and to put them into the promotions tab, which decreases their open rate and decreases the readability of them and possibly increases the likelihood of going to spam. Now, to get into that primary tab, there are just some really simple things that you can set up and do. And if you're a Woodpecker customer, we can help do them for you. And so one of those is setting up your DKIM and SPF record. And don't worry about what those little words mean. They're just little signals and little steps that if you put them into place, similar to like the way when you log into your bank and they give you a two-way text message authenticating, yes, this is me, you can install on your end. Or if you don't have an IT person or it seems a little too complicated, we will help you get these installed. And so if you're already a Woodpecker customer and you don't have your DKIM and SPF records installed, look into the chat right now and you can send a message into our support team for individual help, and we'll help you out. And if you become a Woodpecker customer, we'll help you get these set up so that way you sign and mail from your own domain so you can get delivered to the primary tab. And so there's also a little bit of link there if you want to do it yourself. All right. So now that you understand what Woodpecker is, a LinkedIn automation tool, why we chose them, their safety, their track record, their mimicking of human behavior, why that is the ideal way to do your LinkedIn automation, and you have a little bit of an idea of what Woodpecker is and how we help you with your multi-channel, multi-step campaigns and help improve your deliverability through some of the tools and processes and services that we offer, let's get into things right now. Let's show you how and why Woodpecker work together, because ideally, what you want is a single campaign where you can run and manage things without a bunch of messy integrations, without having to flip and flop between different tabs and wonder the status of things. And so one of the first things I'm going to show you is a simple campaign, something that I've run, something that I do, and something that you can do too, as an example. All right, so it's really important to know that when you are outbounding with LinkedIn, that's starting to be the first step in your campaign to go visit a profile. And so for those of you who are already using LinkedIn, you understand the value of this, but I also need to speak to my friends at Woodpecker who may not have used LinkedIn automation to make a first impression before you send a message. And so one of the things that you can do with Dux-Soup currently in the app over there, but now also inside of Woodpecker, is you can set a visit profile first step in action. And so let me show you why that's important. This doesn't look like much, but actually it is a lot. And so when you go visit your profile, when you go to send and visit a profile of somebody else's page, you show up in their feed. You start to make a name. You start to have a little bit of a tagline. You make an impression on who you are and what you could be for them. So that way you're not just some name in anonymity. And this allows you to then show up as a human, which is what this whole process is about. Everybody's, focused on all this automation, all this chat GTP, and the more human you can show up, the likelihood of them responding to you is going to increase. And this is one of those first things. Most people don't know that LinkedIn automation exists. They're not expecting it. And so really, Mark showed up. This is when people visit my profile. This is how Mark showed up in mine. And sometimes it says, one person visited my profile. Sometimes it says 20 people. And I'll click and I'll open it and I'll go look through who visited my profile. Well, what are their names? And there's a curiosity factor that draws you in, because people, let's face it, we're vain and we want to know who's interested in us, right? And I'm
That's the best
famous.
summary, I think. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're very
And
vain.
so you're playing into that human psychological need for attention and recognition. And so with that first step, I know I go sometimes check those people out, and then I'll see a message from them later. I'm like, oh, okay, that person, name, impression, I'll remember their title, and then I'll get a message, and then I'll know to communicate with them later. And so, but I don't know if I want to call it a fun fact, but there's a power tip here that we're going to get to next, Giles, that you told me about that I didn't know, on how to make sure that when you do set a profile visit in whether a LinkedIn, whether in a Dux-Soup campaign or a combination Woodpecker campaign, that you show up and that you're visible. And so tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so in LinkedIn, if you've got a premium account, so a paid for account, you have these options to view profiles with where people see your name and headline, like we see here with Justin's there with integrations and partnerships. You also have the option, some people choose to use it to hide those credentials. Sometimes you want to browse profiles in private mode, so not everybody sees you. Now, the benefit of visiting, as Justin says there, is to get your name out there, to make sure that notification is out there, that people see that you're visiting them. It's then not just a cold, out of the blue connection request. Hopefully, after doing a webinar such as this, a lot of people will visit my LinkedIn profile, and I'll be able to look at the timing and think, okay, well, people have visited my profile because they were on the webinar. When somebody visits my profile, I will see perhaps the first 60 characters of their tagline. So it's very important that when you do visit people, that your LinkedIn profile is up to date and relevant and hopefully appropriate as to why you are engaging with these people. You want to make sure that there is a link there as to why you have visited their profile. And then sometime after that, whether that's a day or two, or maybe a week or so afterwards, then that connection request comes. It's no longer a connection request out of the blue. They can join the dots.
Yeah, and I think the real big point here is that if you don't have your profile viewing settings set to public, that image that we showed before, that notification that would show up in their notification settings, that profile view, will not happen. And so you'll get a
notification, but you won't be able to see the details.
Yeah. And so you need to make sure that when you're visiting other people's profiles or setting this step up in the campaign, that you have your own settings set to visible, which if you look in the chat, I think Damien already shared that. You're going to want to make sure that your profile view settings is not on private mode, is on public mode. And so that was the really big get that I didn't realize until recently. And I think I had it turned on, that needed to be there. So that way, anybody who's listening on both sides of both Woodpecker and Dux-Soup, make sure that if you're running profile visits in your automations, that you have these settings turned on. Because the next step in the process, which is a no-brainer, is that now within Woodpecker, you can set up a step in the automation to then have a connection request with a personalized reply in that message. And so this is super simple, but it's also super effective. And so if you look at the copy and the content that I use, it is based on a tiny bit of snippet that I've improved over the last 6 months, that is an outbound campaign to get people to come and register for a webinar that I put on. And so that's my vehicle, is outbound to webinar. And I want to get people's email addresses. And so it took me about 6 months to come up with this tiny little piece of copy here, but it performs phenomenally well. I mean, I think I checked somewhere between 35 and 50% of the people who get this little tiny message here actually reply back, if not on the first attempt, the second attempt, which I'm going to get into in a second why. And so this helps me put this into automation, put this into set it and forget it mode. And I start to then hit those people's connection requests and get inside their inboxes, and I start to receive those emails now. But here's the other side of the equation, where a Woodpecker email comes in mighty handily. And so I also know that just because I'm on LinkedIn every single day for hours at a time, prospecting and connecting, that doesn't mean everybody else is. In fact, A lot of people's worlds aren't spent in LinkedIn. They're boss, or they are a boss and they're busy. That's a sideshow. That's a distraction, right? That's the maybe not on LinkedIn doom scrolling, but just for a lot of people, they're not on social media, but they are in their inbox. And so I noticed this, that as soon as I took the same message that I was sending on a DM in a profile connection request, personalized profile request, and took that email and just put a little bit of a prefix around, hey, Justin here, just in case you're not on LinkedIn that often, here's an email of what I just DM'd you. This added somewhere between a 20 and 30% boost in replies from people who now, because they're not on LinkedIn that much, but I told them I'm on LinkedIn, and I put my LinkedIn URL so that way they could verify and validate, yes, I'm a real person and I really did just send this to you. This has massively increased the amount of people who respond to my message. In fact, I'll even see them go back into LinkedIn and say, hey, Justin, I saw your email. Thanks so much. And they'll respond there. Now, what's really cool about this next step is that I schedule both the email and the personalized connection request basically simultaneously back to back. And after the profile visit, it's really no more than 2 days afterwards. And so as you can see here, this is a little snippet cut out of what you can do inside of Woodpecker, 2 days or 2 hours, whatever makes sense for you. And then I have both steps run pretty quickly afterwards. Now, what do you do and how do I handle in a sequence when people don't respond to my first message? I've got this one, and this one works phenomenally well. And I'm going to tell you why, from a LinkedIn perspective, this works so well and how it's helped me. And so, of course, like, the money's made in the follow-up. And if all you do is send one message, one email, one LinkedIn request, you're right. You know this. You've got to follow. People are busy. They don't see things. And what I know to be very, very true is not only are people not always on LinkedIn and they're on their email, but there's a reverse to that, is that when you send a LinkedIn connection request, a lot of times on your phone, it pops up and people just have an automatic behavior to see so-and-so just requested you, and they'll hit accept. And when they do that, they actually don't see your personalized message. They're not ignoring you. They literally didn't see it. It popped up, they hit accept, and then boom, you're now connected, but didn't see that message. And so what I do, and I've tested this, is that I just send this little message here in front of you that says, hey, first name, just checking to see if you saw my last message. And then here's that first message that I sent out as an example that I used on LinkedIn. They accepted it on a Monday, but it was only on the Saturday later in the week where I sent my follow-up, hey, Alex, just seeing if you saw my last message. And then you can almost see within 30 minutes after that follow-up message, hey, Justin, are these monthly? Would love to join your webinars. Of course, I blotted out his email address. Email captured. Now I'm in rapport. Now I've built a way and a reason and permission to go to the next level of conversation with them, right? And so it's really that simple. Profile visit you can do in LinkedIn from Woodpecker, personalized connection request, simultaneous email, and then finally a follow-up email. That is a simple campaign. And of course, you might have more complex outcomes, more complex sequences, but with Woodpecker and Dux-Soup combined together, you can now do that and manage all of that in one place without a whole bunch of messy integrations and hassles and things. And so in addition to that, you can also do automated video emails. Just want to share this with you guys. Nick Cegelski, another huge LinkedIn influencer, he was on our show and did a webinar a couple of months ago with us. And he talked about how he uses video in Woodpecker to then get reads and responses. And so you can see here, he drops that in there. We have an integration with dub.com, which will allow you to record and or drop recorded or live videos right from Woodpecker into any sequence that you want. And so if you're interested in that, Darius, that's his name, Darius at Dub, but Damien at Woodpecker, you'll see in the chats right now a link to check out Dub, as well as a link to the webinar. So if you want to see and hear how to drop and use automated video, you should see something around the 25-day sales cadence to double your replies with Nick Cegelski. You can watch the webinar replay there. I saw this in the chats a couple of minutes ago. So yes, everybody, we do have an open AI integration that allows you to create ChatGPT powered emails and LinkedIn messages. And so this is free. This is part of your account. You can see here in any single step of a Woodpecker campaign and sequence, there's a little button at the bottom. It's actually obscured here in the bottom that says like AI or AI writer. And when you click it from within the text editor, it will pop up generate email or generate text. And then you can play with the prompts and then start to build those right into your campaigns from within Woodpecker. Some other things that are coming soon that you should know about that I think are another big time saver and hassle reducer is that I would say around July or August, I hear that you'll be able to both manage emails, of course, as you can right now, and LinkedIn replies inside of Dux-Soup's inbox. So that way, whether it's you or your team, they don't have to have a bunch of different tabs open, and you can keep clear on what you've read, what you responded to, with a whole lot less confusion. I know if I had less tabs and less things to put my attention on, anything in that area would help my life and day. And then a little bit lastly here, also coming soon, if you're interested in split testing messages, and I know a lot of us are, coming soon around that same time, you'll be able to create various versions of your LinkedIn messages and send them as well and test to see which ones perform. And so those two things are coming soon. And so I'd love to bring Giles back into the conversation here because I know that you've had years of experience looking at multi-channel setups.
Yeah.
People are using email, people are using Dux-Soup, trying to build it and stitch it all together. And so tell us what you've seen and what you like about what we've just talked about.
Well, I mean, it's great what the path we're going down here with Woodpecker. It's really clear and simple and easy to use, and I think and intuitive for users. What I've seen over the years is people using all sorts of different platforms, from something as simple as maybe a Google Sheets to gather data, CRMs, different mail platforms, for example. The Constant Contact and MailChimp are ones that I see repeatedly, and people building really complex solutions, maybe in make.com or Zapier, and then having to keep things maintained, et cetera, et cetera. Having all of this under one umbrella and the power of bringing, the engine that Woodpecker has, and then Dux-Soup Turbo with the open API. Seen a couple of questions around some Dux-Soup Pro users. Turbo is required in order to have access to the Dux-Soup API. We're really seeing, the product or the product set maturing here, whereby there is more togetherness across these different platforms. I mean, I had a call fairly recently, and I've actually had several of them this year already, where people are starting to want to integrate ChatGPT as well, and we can see that evolution here now as with what Justin's just shared with us here as well. So it's a natural evolution. And this helps simplify things. I see a couple of people mentioning Pipedrive as well. Just to say, Dux-Soup also has integrations with direct integrations. Dux-Soup Turbo has direct integrations with Pipedrive, HubSpot, and SharpSpring as well. So just to make you aware of those as well.
Yeah, that's a good point that we should bring up as well, is that one of the biggest CRMs on the Woodpecker side, and I think that's why we're all working together, is Pipedrive. And so as a commonality, and I've seen it before, we have a preponderance of customers using Pipedrive. And so Dux-Soup, Woodpecker, Pipedrive, that has a pretty healthy combination there as well. And so
it was our first CRM integration. It was our first CRM integration coming up for 3 years ago now, was Pipedrive. So that's our most mature one as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And so I'm going to skip to the next part of our conversation here around what plans do you need and how much do they cost, because Woodpecker has a number of different product plans, and so does Dux-Soup, and it's only certain plans that give access to put the whole omni-channel single campaign Woodpecker Dux-Soup integration together. And so talk to us a little bit about the Dux-Soup side of things for our Woodpecker audience and ears.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Dux-Soup Turbo version is available on a monthly subscription or an annual subscription. So you have the different flexibility. Of course, it's more cost effective in the long term. If you go for an annual plan, it works out at a cheaper price per month. If you go to the Dux-Soup website, you can see the pricing there. And then we have individual team and agency models. So you basically one Dux-Soup license per LinkedIn account. Is the sort of the ecosystem you need to think of, and each Dux-Soup account is linked to your Google account, your Chrome account, if you like. Yeah, we have team plans available and agency plans available. And of course, if we look at scale pricing, we have further discounts available once you have more than 10 licenses. And as well as that, we also have, if you have more than 5 turbo licenses, we have what we call a high flyer status, where you get free consultation calls, free help with setup and all that kind of stuff, training, etc. So there are all sorts of possibilities there. But if you check out the Dux-Soup website, you can see the latest pricing there as well. And it'll show you in your local currency as well, wherever you may be in the world. I know we shouldn't assume that everybody's based in North America. But yeah, that's basically what it works. So yeah, there are 2 paid versions of Dux-Soup. So just for clarity, Dux-Soup Turbo is required for all of the integrations that we're talking about here, because that's where the API is required.
Yep. So Dux-Soup Turbo for the Dux-Soup side of things. And then on the Woodpecker side, you need what we call sales assistant, previously sales automation. And so you need a sales assistant account. That will give you access to all the automation aspects of Woodpecker. We have a product called cold email. And so that's the base cold email product. You need to be on the higher level plan, which I think is only, I think, $10 or $12, $20 more. I know I'll be stand corrected and possibly chastised for getting that pricing wrong. But what's important to know is that you need the Woodpecker sales assistant account, and you need to add the LinkedIn slots. And so there are 2 price points here. And so you have a $40 a month price point for the sales assistant. And then you need to add the $44 a month LinkedIn automation slot to plug into the Woodpecker and Dux-Soup integration. Now, I will have some special links coming up. I've seen it show up in the chats because the product is just fresh and ready for everybody to use. We are still working on getting the best promo codes created. And so I'm going to have an opportunity in a couple of seconds for you to raise your hand essentially and tell me where you are, what you want, and how to follow up with you. So that way I can get you, depending on whether you're a Dux-Soup customer or whether you're a Woodpecker customer. There's all these combinations. I want to keep it simple for you guys. Don't think I'm going to have a little way for you to share where you are. So that way I can target, follow up with you on what you need and what you are. But before jumping into that, I did see some questions around lead sources and lead data. And so we can talk about that for a couple of seconds right now. Of course, there's, our primary preferred friend and partners over at LeadFuse. Again, what up, LeadFuse customers, for joining us. I hope you are starting to see how you can take what you already have with them. LeadFuse provides email addresses. LeadFuse provides LinkedIn URLs, the 2 most important things that make everything that we showed here today work. LeadFuse has an integration with both of us. And so if you already are a LeadFuse customer, that's fantastic news. You can just add in whatever tool that you need or want, whether it's the emails from Woodpecker or the Dux-Soup automation. And then and I'm showing the screen here right now of what it would look like for you as a LeadFuse customer to then set up your campaign to scrape and pull that data. And then Woodpecker through, I think it's called the Fuse bot. I know it as the Fuse bot. Maybe the name has changed. You can then drip and drop right from LeadFuse a certain number of leads at your preset desired amount into Woodpecker campaigns. And so you can see here on the left, there's your lead list. If you look to the right, you can see Woodpecker settings. This is inside of LeadFuse, where you can pick that omni-channel campaign. And then right from there, Woodpecker and Dux-Soup will go to work for you by pushing that stuff over. And so, of course, this is our preferred partner. We're closest to them. It doesn't mean that's the only one that will work with what we've talked about. And so if you are a LeadFuse customer, fantastic. You know what you need to know. If you're not yet a LeadFuse customer and you're interested in learning more about what LeadFuse is, we've actually worked out a very, honestly, this is like, I had to twist some arms. It felt that way with the people over at LeadFuse to get a very special deal that you can't find anywhere else. And I really, truly mean that. I worked out a deal where for $99 a month, for Woodpecker and Dux-Soup customers only. I think Damien can drop that into there. And you can see, I think they give you some starter credits, 500 credits. You can play around with it if you're ready to buy. If you're just looking to try and get a demo to see if LeadFuse is right for you, I think there's another link Damien can drop around getting a LeadFuse demo. And you can go from there. Now, as far as any other data source, all you need to make this work using any other data source, of course, you're gonna have to do it in some way manually, is whether it's Zoom info or any of the other major data sources, is do your profiling, create your CSV file, and just make sure email's in there, and make sure LinkedIn profile email is in there. And then you can go into the campaign and then drop the entire CSV file. And so whether it's 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 people, you can run that campaign against them. And then there are some limits around how many emails you can send per day and what we recommend in caution. And that's a whole other conversation. But you can basically pull as big a list as you want, drop it into one campaign, set the parameters in which how many you want to deliver and what you think is appropriate and safe. And we have some guidelines around that. We're happy to talk about that on an onboarding call or something. And then you can set it and forget it from there. Now, of course, you might want to update the copy and see how it performs. And so, like I was saying before, we're going to give you an opportunity right now to tell us what you need next, where you are, to get some promo links and to help you get set up with the next step in wherever your journey might take you. I sound like a flight attendant. That's what it kind of feels like right now. And so these are some of the names and faces behind the scenes here at Woodpecker that after you share, and Damien, if you want to pop that last poll on wrapping up, it should show up for everyone right now. That allows people to kind of tell us what they want and what they need next. And so yeah, I think it's actually a different poll. Can you close this one up? This is not the poll, I know. Yeah, thanks so much. There's another one. Let's see here. Oh, before we go, in fact, actually, let's see here. What can we do for you next? I can launch it. That screen came back. So nice. All right. Thank you, Damien. And so if you can look on your screen right now, there's a poll that says, what can we do for you next? This is where you can tell us how to help you, what to say and what to do. So that way we can provide a customized approach and get you the right promo link, get you the right next step, the right discount. And so, like I said, we're trying to get this to you guys as quickly as possible. And so behind the scenes in the next day or so, we're going to come up with the promo links, a special offer. I know there's going to be free trials involved. And so what you're answering right now will help us get you access to Dux-Soup for free, access to Woodpecker for free, access to the LinkedIn slots for free. And so, if you've got an interest at all in adding omni-channel, or in one case, email sequences to your existing Dux-Soup campaigns, fill out this particular poll right now. And let's see if we can get to 75. I know that last time we got to 100. And so I know we've lost a couple of people along the way right now. They've gone off on their day and we're going to send them the recording right now. That's totally cool. And so let's see if we get to 75, guys. We're at 63. Tell us where you're at, because ultimately this is for you. Right? Yes, my job here right now is to explain how the integrations work together. My job is to get you excited and interested in adding one or two pieces to the puzzle that ultimately, not for my benefit, but for you guys to understand how to get more responses. And I know from my experience in using Woodpecker and Dux-Soup together, which is a nice benefit, because I'm not just here telling you these things because I'm in marketing and I'm doing a webinar. These are actually things I've said and done. And I know with a high degree of confidence, as you saw in those screenshots, they will have an impact on your business, whether you add messaging from the LinkedIn side or messaging from the email side. And so let's see if we can get just a couple more, guys. We've got 68 and we've got about 4 minutes left. And so we're going to wrap up in a second here and then jump into some last critical questions that you ought to know and do before taking things forward. We got one more. Let's get from 69 to 70. Can we do it? I think 70 is a good number. What do you think, Giles?
I think that's a great number. Yeah. I think it's also worth saying, you said there, it's about making all of these tools available for people and so they can bring in the correct product sets. I mean, we've had discussions around, I trained you up on Dux-Soup over a couple of months ago and brought you up to speed, and to see the progress you've made and being able to really sort of take it to another level in your everyday processes. It's been really sort of interesting to see that, it's a bit of a cliche, your journey.
Yeah. You've helped me really level up, and I've done some advanced things now. All right, we hit that 70 mark and we've got a couple of minutes left. And so I really want to now go into that last step of today, which is getting into those frequently asked critical questions. And so underscoring critical it's important to know how to connect Dux-Soup and Woodpecker together. And so if you filled out that poll and you have any interest in all in connecting the two together, look inside the chat right now, because Damien's going to drop a link. And in that link, it's going to give you everything you need to know to help you get started on your own. Now, we're here to help you, but some of you guys are self-starters. You want to go do it during your own time, different office hours. Open this link right now and save it as a tab.
Yeah, it's a really good step-by-step guide. I went through it the other week, and yeah, absolutely.
Pretty much everything you need to know to connect the two together. The team who behind the scenes wrote these things did a fantastic job. And so now that you have how to set it up, let's just get into some of those last little safety concerns before we go home here for the day. Giles, I think this is kind of an important part for you. And before I hand it over, I just want to let everybody know that there are two places in which you can make these, I would call it toggles and throttles around how LinkedIn settings work. And so you can do it now inside of Woodpecker, which is pretty cool. Again, you can do these things if you're a Dux-Soup customer, not having to go inside of multiple places, but just all within Woodpecker, as you can see here under your LinkedIn slots management. And then if you were to go into the Dux-Soup side of things, and maybe that's just where you're most comfortable, you can change those things here. And so before we go, just give us the basics of what we're looking at here, Giles.
So what we're looking at here is, here, this is where we go into our throttling settings in Dux-Soup, and it's very similar, and it's exactly the same data as well available within Woodpecker. This is showing you how many profile visits Dux-Soup will carry out for you per day. Depending on what type of account you've got, you can configure that. So if you've got a Sales Navigator account, LinkedIn are expecting you to use the LinkedIn platform for your business. They're expecting you to be very busy on there. They are happy for you to open hundreds of profiles a day. You also have the ability to control the number of connection requests you send and the direct messages. Direct messages are messages to first degree contacts and in mails. But yeah, essentially to send a message or to send a direct message or to carry out a visit, that all of those steps count as opening a profile. So think about that from your throttling perspective. We've got some really good blog posts around that, which I'll make sure that they get shared appropriately as well.
Yeah. And the final takeaway from this is, based on the type of account you have, there are good guidelines around the number of profile visits, the number of messages you can send. And so as you can see here, free accounts up to 100, business accounts up to 250, Sales Navigator up to 500, Recruiter up to 600, so on and so forth. You can choose your own destiny here. More aggressive, more risk, less aggressive, less risk. Just kind of the way the life works.
Absolutely, yes. And what I'm just going to send to Damien is one of our most popular blog posts is all about how you keep your account safe. On
good one. All right.
Let me find that and send it to Damien so we can share that one accordingly.
And for everybody still hanging out with us right now, just a quick announcement. Our next webinar is coming up on June 29th with Sales Impact Academy. And so these are the people who put together trainings for SDRs, salespeople. They work with some of the highest, most performing people in the industry. And so we're going to have one of their experts come on our show. We're going to talk about sequences, cadences, messaging, all the things that we talked about we couldn't cover during the beginning of our webinar today. We're bringing someone in who's got that level of expertise, who's seen behind the scenes, and we're going to show you not just the methodology, but we're also going to do, like we did in, I think, February, a mapping of the technology to the methodology, where you can see inside our sequences for a deeper dive, a more advanced view of how to use these tools together. And so I just want to say thank you, Giles, for taking the time, working with me, coaching me, getting me to the point where I could be this proficient, this clear, and I would say this confident in both my role as an outbounder and prospector on LinkedIn, as well as being able to share and connect with everybody here. If you guys got any fun, any value, let's put in the chats a little bit of round of applause or thank you for Giles. Thank you to the Woodpecker team. They put so much energy into the integration. And so if you had any fun, like I said, got any value, throw some high fives. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, James. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, everybody.
And feel free to send me a connection request on LinkedIn. Mention Dux-Soup, because then I know how you found me, or say Dux-Soup Woodpecker. It's a really good one, because then I know how you found me.
That's perfect. And we'll include that in some of the follow-up stuff as well. Oh, look at all the love that we're getting here. And so
awesome. It's been really, really good. And the time we've spent preparing for this has been really good as well, Justin.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about doing a round 2 when new features come out. Yep. No promises there yet, but this is probably the first of many collaborations around Duck-Soup and Woodpecker together. And so stay tuned for more. We'll let you know more then. And
Yeah,
so,
I think as we start to see the mailbox stuff coming through, then we'll see that evolution, and then we'll have to, yeah, we'll follow up accordingly.
okay. Well, everybody, take care. I'm Justin Zimmerman, running partnerships here at Woodpecker. Giles, thank you so much. Heading up solutions and systems over at Duck-Soup. And until we all meet again, take care. Have a great day.